For decades, if you wanted to produce massive, high-stakes reality television, you had exactly one path. You went to Hollywood, you pitched to a network. You needed their deep pockets, and you had to navigate their centralized control rooms just to get your idea on a screen. The major networks held an absolute monopoly. They owned the distribution channels reaching millions of living rooms, and they controlled the massive capital required to fund high-stakes productions. If they didn't greenlight your project, it simply didn't exist. Independent creators lived in an entirely separate, lower-tier ecosystem. They were confined to smaller screens and heavily restricted production values. The physical box in the living room dictated what was considered premium entertainment, and creators were kept strictly on the outside. Then Jimmy Donaldson started quietly building an empire. He bypassed the network system entirely, moving from standard viral challenge videos to massive, independently funded competitions. Without a single Hollywood executive's approval, he gathered an audience larger than legacy networks. This parallel growth created a vacuum in the media landscape. By the time legacy networks took notice, a single YouTube creator commanded more direct viewership and cultural influence than their entire broadcast schedules combined. So what happens when the world's largest digital creator decides the YouTube ecosystem is no longer capable of containing his ambitions? The result is Beast Games. This partnership with Amazon MGM Studios serves as the direct bridge between digital creation and blockbuster television. This agreement marks the first time a creator has leveraged their own massive audience to dictate terms to a major streaming platform, rather than pitching a concept to be owned and managed by a network. The scale of this production proves that independent creators are no longer restricted to a different tier of media. They are now building global franchises using the same resources and reaching the same audiences as the most established names in Hollywood. Traditional television operates on a very specific set of rules. Networks rely heavily on calculated financial risk and predictable, easily repeatable competition formats to ensure a steady return on investment. Beast Games aggressively shatters legacy rules. By funneling thousands of contestants toward record-breaking prize pools, the production breaks traditional television budgets. Injecting this raw storytelling and high financial stakes creates suspense legacy television struggles to fund. The emotional weight completely overwhelms the standard formula. Breaking the scale barrier serves a very specific purpose. It is a highly effective narrative weapon that traditional networks simply cannot afford to deploy. To physically execute this, Donaldson partnered with Amazon MGM Studios. This collaboration acts as the operational bridge connecting internet agility with established Hollywood infrastructure. On the left, traditional television relies on slow, bureaucratic production timelines. On the right, the creator framework operates on a hyper-agile feedback loop. This model is dangerous to legacy media because it absorbs high-end cinema tools, like massive custom sets, without losing its inherent speed. The result is digital-first storytelling. Cinematic quality is maintained, but instant audience feedback loops dictate real-time creative pivots on set. This hybrid execution achieves blockbuster television quality without sacrificing the speed and raw authenticity of YouTube, giving the creator a definitive competitive advantage. The traditional television business model is highly vulnerable. It relies heavily on isolated, single-source revenue pipelines, like broadcast advertising or syndication. This multi-tiered economic engine pulls massive revenue simultaneously from streaming deals, brand exposure, and connected physical businesses, entirely replacing the single input model. The critical advantage is the retention of creator-owned intellectual property, which traditional networks historically always kept for themselves. Armed with this multi-tiered financial engine, independent creators can outspend, outscale, and outmaneuver legacy television networks at their own game. Attempting to execute this transition hasn't been completely smooth. Managing thousands of people outside the traditional Hollywood safety net brings intense operational friction. Bypassing decades of established network bureaucracy requires navigating intense public scrutiny, massive logistical nightmares, and strict risk management demands. The growing pains are highly visible. But the core lesson for the entire industry is clear. Massive scale must always serve to support the storytelling, and genuine innovation requires surviving these calculated risks. The relationship between creators and platforms has shifted. Streaming giants now rely on these top-tier creators to maintain their market position, treating them as essential partners rather than just external contributors. Beast Games effectively erases the boundary between YouTuber and television producer. Creators are building global franchises, and traditional media is now forced to adapt to their rules or be left entirely behind.